Welcome to the Wizard of House podcast, where Lee, Mr. T, pulls back the curtain on residential real estate. This podcast features casual conversations with homeowners, industry experts, and a variety of guests about their failures, successes, and overall experience in the real estate world. Let the Wizard of House pave a yellow brick road to your real estate success on our weekly podcast with our host, Mr. T.
Hi, everybody. This is Lee, Mr. T, Toutounchian, as you know me. Listen, I'm back after a good couple of months. Part of it was I took a trip and hurt my back, but Mr. T, Executive Realty, is back. I've got a great host with us. This guy is, I'm going to call him the big fish. I got the big fish for you. He is full of knowledge. He is from the insurance industry. And I am not just talking to a guy that got into business 5 years ago. He got into business like 45 years ago or more, 47 years ago. 47 years of insurance business. I have Steve Hall here, and thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. He's out of Ormond, and just for your sakes, he does all of my insurance needs is with Steve. I was impressed from the day I met him. I'm still impressed with him. It's been over 10 years or something like that.
Yep.
I have several properties, nothing big, but that I rent out, and he does all my liability insurance, homeowner insurance, my personal homeowner insurance, all of my cars. Anyway, he's my go-to guy. If I have any questions or something happens, like insurance drops me or, I get these weird letters, I just call him and his beautiful wife, Vicky, which she can't be here today. But Steve, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know your office is in Ormond,
yep.
And
we have one in Palm Coast.
One in Palm Coast.
There
That's right. A lot of time Vicky is there.
Yes, sometimes she is.
So go
you said
for
I
it,
was
man.
full of knowledge. I know I'm full of it, but I'm not sure what. So
full of knowledge. Yeah, let the people know what the heck is going on with the insurance, man.
Well, so 47 years ago, July 5th is the anniversary, so coming up.
Oh, wow.
I gave our team an extra day off I just made it up, Founders Day. So they're getting July 4th and July 5th.
Oh, beautiful.
So they're happy. But nobody starts dreaming about going into insurance. It's not, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player or a National Football League star,
Wow.
But you got to be fast, smart, and see real well. So I didn't apparently qualify. So here I am. But the insurance industry has changed dramatically here in Florida because of a number of factors. And in Florida, we seem to go through spells.
Yes.
Some are weather related, like hurricane issues, but others are man-made, driven by attorneys and roofers. Right now, you see this free roof issue, which we can talk about in more detail. Mm-hmm. But we seem to go from one insurance crisis to another.
Amazing, yeah.
It used to be sinkholes was kind of the first one that I remember that was man-made, and then you have, of course, the roof issues that we're going now, and there's others. So,
and 2017, 2018 didn't help in matters. That storm that we had, one was more water and one was more wind.
Yep. Between
the two, the insurance companies. I heard that or read that insurance companies lost $1 billion a year the last 2 years.
Yes, and
a lot of them closed up.
Well, we had actually 5 companies go bankrupt since 2021. From 2021 and 2022, we had 2 this year, pretty sizable ones. Where they had in excess of 100,000 policyholders that were thrown on the streets basically with 30 days notice. So that puts a lot of pressure on the industry that remains, and all of them don't have excellent condition houses. So that's a real challenge too. So a lot of financial problems, and it's, insurance companies generally don't go out of business because their rates are too low, or too high, I should say. They could not get enough rate soon enough to cover some of these roofing issues, primarily roofers, and lawyers are connected to these roofing firms that are doing the free roof thing, we'll call it. So, yeah,
so the free roof thing is gone, right?
Well,
pretty much.
It's not gone, but it is. Some good news. We think it's not great news. There could have been some other things, but we are in a democracy, so we don't usually get all we want, whether you're on one side or the other. But the insurance industry got a lot when it came to the legal issues, and so some of the because they were so recent. That was the end of May. That law was signed into law May 23rd, I think, or May 26th.
Yes, $2 billion.
There's a fund. There's a number of components there, but think about this. Florida has 8% of all the claims in the United States. 8% of the insurance claims in the United States.
Wow.
It has 75% of the lawsuits against insurance companies for claims. So when you have 8% of the claims, but produce 75% of the claims for the entire country, that tells you how out of whack our system is. So some of the features of our legal system have been changed when it comes to several of the issues that we have to deal with there. So it makes it a little more fair for the insurance company, because the reason companies end up paying for free roofs, let's call it what it is, they're at a disadvantage in the legal system because of the way the bad faith laws were in the state of Florida. So getting a little deep in the weeds on the legal stuff.
I understand this thing that passed in May by Governor DeSantis and the House signed. I guess it's all done.
It's done.
I understand there's some nice things in it that the insurance company can't come and just say, 15 years, change your roof. If they come and inspect it, and the inspector says there is 5 years life left, that they can't just drop you.
That's correct.
Is that true?
Well,
and I mean,
kind of. Yes.
Kind of. And then there is, I heard or read that also, like, if your roof is 25% damaged, that it has to be repaired. They can't just, again, make you change the roof.
Yes. So those are a couple of things. Did you get my sheet before I? No,
I'm in the.
You're paying attention.
I'm kind of in the business, so my homeowners, they're all worried. A lot of them. I was talking to your wife just yesterday or the day before. She says, there's insurance companies that are saying over 7 years we're not going to insure.
Well,
that's crazy, right?
So let's talk about
a home over 7 years old that they.
It's not the roof; it's the home. So let's talk about that, because we do have one company. There's that we'll just talk about the specific. The company says we're not going to take any homes that are over 7 years old. Now, does that mean? Normally, that would mean that a home over 7 years, there's something wrong with it. Well, it's not so much that. It's really like a spigot. It's the spigot to turn off the flow of new business, because they know, because of all these hundreds of thousands of customers who have been canceled because of these company bankruptcies, and because of the other ones where they're getting canceled because their roof was over 15 years old, or other things, they're thrown into the market. And so there's all this demand for insurance. Well, an insurance company can't just write a policy because they have a piece of paper so they can print the policy. They have to have money in the bank. It's called surplus. It's reserves to pay claims. And so they can only write so much business before they have to stop. The state of Florida would stop them from writing because they don't have enough surplus or cash reserves to pay your claim. So that's what the company's doing. They're saying, hey, we've got 10,000 customers that are asking us to write coverage. We're going to take the very best, and the easiest way is to just say, hey, if your house is over 7 years old, then you can't, we're not going to look at you right now. Doesn't mean they might change that in the future. They definitely will. But for right now, this is the limitation.
This is that company.
Yes. I had one company at the end of 2021 who changed the roof. They were talking the roof age had to be less than 2 years old. And again, it doesn't mean anything bad about a 3-year-old roof. It means we're trying to slow down the flow of business. You mentioned the change in the legislation that just passed and is now law, the 15-year roof thing. So if somebody, a company can no longer cancel you solely, that's in quotations, solely because of the age of your roof.
Perfect.
So where they have been in the past, again, to get away from these free roof claims that they're having to pay, they just said, well, we'll just make it a much newer roof so we don't have that happen as often. But the insurance department, as part of this give and take in the law, they said, okay, insurance companies, you've got a lot of stuff. You're going to have to cancel for something in addition to the age of their roof. So like if you're close to the ocean, if you're on the beach side, if you're on the river, let's say, the closer you are to the ocean, the more likely you are to still be in kind of the danger zone because we're in Florida and it's a risky area.
So all of that is good, but what if they have like tripled their price now? I mean, some of them like I have a 2,100 square foot house with a pool, a rental, and you guys were pricing to, I was like, why did this go up so high? Let's shop. Mm-hmm. And the roof is 5 years old. The house is in great shape. But some company says $3,800, and other company says $3,300. We only cover you for $240 when it's worth $350, $400 or more. So there's all these different pricing out there, which depending on what company you go to. So as a homeowner, a lot of the homeowners are confused that they're getting the bill, it's 30% more, and they're still telling them you got to change the roof, and it's really a bad, and just today I was telling my wife, maybe we should just not have insurance, which I'm sure a lot of people are considering that.
Some do.
If you have, I've had a homeowner right here, one of these communities next in Port Orange. Mm-hmm. He said, Lee, 18 years, I haven't paid insurance. Now I'm going to go change the roof. It's okay. I pay $15,000, but they were going to charge him $1,500 to $2,000. And who knows if they would have ever covered his roof, but he went ahead and changed his roof, and then we sold it. Not that it's not a good idea for fire, this, that, but if the prices get so out of hand, and I know you're not an insurance company, but they were getting ridiculous here. I list homes, and the roof is perfectly fine. The inspector comes, it's perfectly fine, and they go to get insurance, and insurance says, yeah, you got to change it. So now we've gone to this, so the buyer walks, I talk to the owner, he goes, okay, Lee, we'll change the roof, but there's nothing wrong with the roof.
Right.
It's almost like such a waste of money.
Right.
And the buyer's sure, if he's going to change the roof, we'll come back and buy it.
Right.
So I solved it, but you feel bad because honestly, the roof looked good.
Yeah,
this is a 25-year, 30-year shingle that's supposed to last 20, 25 in Florida. Now they're saying, a 30-year shingle now lasts 10 years. I'm like, what?
Right.
Come on. It's the same shingle that's been around from the 80s, 90s. How could it suddenly be only 10 years?
Because it's really not. You're right. So
it's all about money, it looks like.
Well, it's the insurance companies obviously are in business to make money. We're all here to earn a buck, so to speak. They have, and again, like I mentioned, they have to have the money in the bank to pay those claims. So they're trying to do it responsibly. But you mentioned, to go to the specific question about the situation where somebody gets a renewal and it's 30% higher or 50. There's numbers are all over the board. So there's no set pricing in the state of Florida. It's market driven. They do have to, each insurance company has to go to the state of Florida and get their rates approved. So they can't just charge anything they want to. And so, but when you get a renewal rate and it's 30% higher, you need to reach out to your agent and say, hey, I got this rate, it's 30% higher. Do you have any other companies? We're an independent agent. We represent a number of different companies. So usually we have other options, not always. It depends on how old is the roof, and then have the agent look at that. And then also it's a good time to review your coverages, because when I first started, and until I'm going to say about 10 years ago, the insurance company on the homeowner policy, let's stay with the homeowner policy. If you had a $300,000 coverage for the dwelling, for the structure, the dwelling structure, you got percentage of coverages. So for instance, contents, you got 50% of the dwelling amount. So 50% of 300,000, you got 150,000 in contents. You got 10% for other structures, so 30,000, and you got additional living expense, where they call loss of use now, at typically 20% or 60,000. Well, let's just talk about the contents. Do you have 150? The question I would have for the customer that you were talking about is, do you have $150,000 worth of stuff in your house? Now, I'm not talking about,
jewelry,
not jewelry, and not garage sale stuff. I'm talking about, your wife is not going to take garage sale stuff. She wants new stuff for the stuff that burned up, blew away, got stolen, whatever it was. But do you need that much? And you go, you look around and you say, well, I need 10,000. No, Lee, you need more than 10,000. But let's think about it. Go room by room. And you come up with a number. Often it's less than 150,000. Not always, because a lot of people still have that. But many of them don't have 150. Maybe they say 100,000. And we then can adjust the price. Whereas years ago, we as agents didn't have that luxury, because those were fixed percentages. But now there's some flexibility. Other structures, people often say, I don't have any other structures, Well, do you have a fence? Yes. Okay, well, that's an other structure. But do you have anything else? A shed? No. Pool? No. Pools are typically, if they're attached to the house, part of the house. But anyway,
the pool cage you guys don't cover now, right?
Well, I mean, it's covered, but not for hurricane.
Isn't that crazy? That's when you will go down.
Yeah, of course. So but everybody doesn't have one, and everybody doesn't want it. So they have choice.
Most people have it.
Most people that have a pool do have it. You're right. So, but there's those selections that people can make now, whereas before it was fixed and you couldn't do that. So that's what I recommend, is they get with their agent.
Because the market has gone up, how about the replacement value? Do you guys have control on that? Because they just put up, and I know it's the house without the land.
Yes.
If it burns down.
Yes.
You have a computer or program that gives you, each company gives you the replacement. I think that's where the big number comes from.
Do you mean that the number is increasing too high, too much? Okay.
It seems like,
So it can get out of whack. Most policies have a built-in inflation factor. It's a fixed percentage. And of course, right now, inflation in construction is way more than 4%, which is what kind of the typical one is, either 4 or 8%. Could be other amounts, but 4 or 8 a very common one. But again, that's the time when you look at it and you say, unfortunately, what people think of when they call us about this issue, they say, my house is not worth that much. Well, to the insurance company and to your insurance policy, it doesn't matter how much your house is worth. You, as the real estate agent, of course, you're worried about that, because that's what the sale is based on, is the worth of this house in the marketplace. And me as the homeowner, I'm worried about, can you rebuild my house again? Or can you replace the damaged item, the damaged part of the structure? Do I have enough to do that? So that's what you, again, just like we talked about the contents, maybe adjust that. Maybe the other structures, you don't have any, or you have a lower amount. Look at the replacement cost, and it's I try not to say replacement cost anymore, even though the policy says that, because people always talk about value. I try not to say value anymore. That's in your world.
Yes.
That's important. In my world, it's really not.
It changes all the time.
What's important is the reconstruction cost.
Exactly.
And so when you say reconstruction, it seems to trigger them to start thinking about what would it cost. And although they're not experts, and yes, we have tools. You mentioned how do we do it? On the policy, it's automatically increased in a lot of cases. But we do have, if you called up, we would go to a replacement cost estimator tool that each company has. And we put in the features of the dwelling, and maybe you've changed something like, oh, I've got a custom kitchen now, before it was just builder's grade. Okay, well, we can change that and change those numbers, and maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down. So
okay. So one more question on this. Like when we say like free roofs is over, or they depends, a lot of people are getting like roofs because of hail damage, and a lot of these companies saying, oh, we can't do this anymore. But hail damage is really hail damage. I mean, when you get hail damage,
yes,
you're not taking advantage of the system. You're calling your insurance, you're putting a claim in, and some people do that AOB, assignment of benefits. They bring a third party, a mediator that fights with the insurance company. But, not all of those, I, for one, had to use that on one of my rentals. I mean, the insurance themselves came, they said, yeah, it was major hail damage. And because when a hail hits the shingle, apparently you have granule loss. And under that is a fiberglass. The sun hits it, and it could turn into a hole, and you could have a roof leak. So what happens with legitimate? Are they going to come, and do you still have to fight insurance companies to do what they're supposed to do to cover your roof, or is it covered?
Yes, it is covered. Yes, it is, subject to your deductible. So hail damage, it's not the hail damage that's the problem. It's the fraudulent ones. The legitimate ones, there's no problem there. The companies stroke checks all the times for those, and they don't need you to hire an attorney, or for you to pay a public adjuster, or sign an AOB to the roofer. Those are usually triggers to have the company not pay, so that, because the whole impetus behind those in many cases is to get the company to resist paying, because they set up an amount that's in excess. They get an estimate in excess of what the company knows is a real cost of doing the roof.
See.
And it's the trigger when the attorney the roofer's attorney then goes to file a claim, and then gets fee multipliers. And these fee multipliers, that's why Florida has 76% claims of the entire insurance claim lawsuits in the country. It's not because our lawyers are so smart. I guess they're smart enough to scam the system, because they are getting 76% of the entire lawsuits in the country, or that other states are so bad that they don't know what they're doing. It's legitimate claims. You don't get resistance on those. Do some companies mess up and don't pay one when they need to? Of course, they're human.
Yeah, they try.
I'd like to think they're not doing it
just like your health insurance.
Just health insurance, So hail damage is, yes, it's covered just like hurricane damage, just like a fire. But every roof has not been damaged by hail, and so many more than in the past have been. They run into the.
So your point is, like, let's say I get hail damage and I call my insurance direct, and they come out and they cut a check for 20 or 15 or whatever is, a fair number. what happens, I guess, when people call and give it to assign the benefits to a third party or get an attorney and all of that, they go for a lot more.
Yes.
And I've seen that.
Yes.
You're like, you know, at $15,000 roof, they're getting a check for $36,000
Yes.
or $30,000, and that's what kills the insurance company. So on their side, I mean, I can see what you're saying is it could have been a simple claim, and now it's turned into a triple amount.
It's 3 times as much.
Yeah, as much.
Many times,
And they win.
They win because the law has been very one-sided. It's like a one-way. They call them one-way attorney's fees, meaning only the insurance company can lose, or the other side's going to win almost all the time. So if you're the insurance company, you're already going to have to end up paying the roof. Do you want to pay your lawyer or the one you're hiring because there's so many of them? You've run out of your legal staff.
Right.
Do you want to pay another $10,000 or $20,000 to your legal team to try to battle it out? When you know that if it goes to a jury trial, the jury's going to say, hey, they're consumers too. And like, well, of course they should get a free roof. Well,
So you know, settle.
do you get a free car when hail damage hits your nice car?
Exactly.
Do you run down to the dealership and say, hey, my 5-year-old Mercedes or BMW or Jeep, whatever it is, I want a new one? You could run down there and try that, but I'm pretty sure you're not getting anywhere. Now, you may go out with a new car because you know those salesmen at the car dealership
these
are
are
pretty
things
good.
people don't get sometimes. You know, again, I'm a homeowner, and when you get these new bills and you get the letter that, hey, we're dropping your insurance, hopefully this new bill that just passed on May 23rd or 26th,
Yes.
it's going to help both sides to come to a fair solution, and that they'll come out, like let's say I sell a home and they're saying the inspector comes, it's 15 years old, and he puts on the report like they used to. Hey, it's going to go another 5 years,
Yeah.
and hopefully you'll get a fair rate, not too high absorbent amount where people go, what, $4,000 for a 1,500 square foot house. So it goes, hopefully it's going to be a fair playing field now with this bill.
Couple things. Number one, you have inflation factoring. So forget about any other stuff we're talking about. We have inflation. Cost of vehicle parts are going up. The cost of medical care has gone up, goes up all the time. You mentioned health insurance.
Yes.
Well, health insurance kind of goes into your car insurance because the component of it, the no-fault law in the state of Florida, PIP, personal injury protection, it goes in there. So those costs go up. The cost of the contractors, a 2x4 goes up. The cost of shingles goes up. The cost of putting a roof goes up. All those factors go into it if nothing else changes. So that inflationary pressure is likely to push rates higher. This law it's a long-term solution. So the next bill you got from any of your companies is not going to be really affected by this yet. But I think it's going to be a really game changer eventually, but it's not going to help us for the next maybe 18 months, 12 months, something
But
like
it
that.
will help,
Yes.
again, in insurance companies just dropping you or making you go buy a new roof because it's just 15 years old. They can't just...
That's right.
Right? That's
have
going
to
to
have
really
some
help
other
because
reason.
it's doing that to so many people.
Yes,
They're
there are.
like, and that's, I think, what kind of caused this rush of people putting claims in, because the 15 years is coming up. I'm at 15 years. Oh my God, they're going to drop me. Let me send in a claim. Hopefully all that will stop also.
Well,
knowing
maybe.
that, no, I'm going to be good, for the next 5-10 years.
Yep. Well, then there is some of that, where when this law was about to go into effect, because it went into effect immediately. Most of the laws that were passed in the past session that started in February don't take effect till tomorrow. July 1st is a very common date. July 1st and October 1st are the typical two primary dates that laws go into effect, because the administrators that put the law into effect have to figure out the rules and stuff. So they have rule making they have to get in place. So but tomorrow there's a lot of those things that go into place. But the roof issue, the 15-year deal went into effect immediately. That has already helped because one of our companies who had canceled 46,000 people in the state of Florida, I say canceled, they're non-renewing. They just didn't say it stops today. It's when your policy expires, we're not going to be renewing it because of the age of your roof. They sent a letter out the week after that May 26th law went into effect and said, if you got one of our non-renewal letters that said we're going to cancel you because of the age of your roof, and we will look at your roof based on the new statute that if you can show 5 years of. So that's already happened, a very positive
great.
thing. Yes,
that
it
is a very positive
So, insurance companies, there's a lot of industries that are, are easy to hate because you pay insurance premiums. You have lots of them because you have many properties, so you get hit all the time. Most people have an auto.
Not too many guys. Don't think I have. It's like
he has a few.
Little.
He has a few.
Not too many at all.
He's a good guy.
As I save, I go buy a little condo. A little condo.
You're not spending all your money on flashy cars and that kind of stuff.
I got a loan on that one.
But that's okay. That's the American way.
The C8.
Now you got me off my train of thought.
You haven't met her yet.
I forgot what we were talking about.
No, this is one thing I wanted to say is East Coast insurers, I'm sure they got flooded with calls when they get these letters.
Oh, yeah.
And his wife and their staff is amazing. I personally had to take a couple of my properties, a few of them, put them in Citizens. And Citizens was, the public insurance versus private insurance.
Yes.
So, and when I would call your office, and, I know I want to you explain a day in your office, all the stress you guys go through with all the homeowners calling, panicking. I mean, who do you call? You call your insurance agent.
Right.
And I'm sure your phone was ringing off the hook a few months ago. Because, if you already called just about 6 months ago, or 6 months to a year ago, or even more, the insurance company started saying, nope, 15 years, we're not renewing. You need to change your roof. And then we all started getting higher bills.
Right.
The rates are going up, or we're dropping you, or go change your roof, or, and then they come back, they're saying water heater. I remember your office company says, this company, Citizens, even Citizens, you got to change your water heater. And I'm like, my water heater is fine. No, they want it changed. And I'm like, I'm not changing it. It's fine. It's in the garage. And if it busts, it's not coming in the house. And they're like, okay, let us write a letter and explain. And I said, I just had a 4-point done. And the guy said, there's no rust. There's nothing on my water heater. Mm-hmm. It's old, but it's fine. So, again, I'm speaking for homeowners because I'm a homeowner, and for them coming out, they say, okay, you got to fix your sidewalk, cut these trees, and your bigger major companies don't do that. They don't have the time to do that. But I've had the smaller, weaker companies. They come through and they just give you a list. Mm-hmm. Cut the tree limb off this right side of the house, fix the sidewalk, and we did, and some of my homeowners had to do that.
So yes, it's called risk management. So we used to live in a society where you didn't have to worry about getting sued. Well, as you can see from the TV ads, that ain't happening anymore. Right. So we have to protect ourselves. And so the insurance company, you know a little bit about risk, and I say you as a consumer, not a real estate professional, because you know a lot more than the average bear. But the insurance company, the reason they know about this stuff is they've paid thousands and thousands of claims. So they know that having having tree limbs hanging over your roof, for instance, shortens the life of your roof. And so, yes, it saves them money if they don't have to pay a claim, but it saves you, it saves you money because you have a deductible so that you would have to pay. And it's most of us, I know the older I get, the less tolerant I get for inconvenience. Like I want to do stuff when I want to do it. And if I get off track because I got to wait for the roofer to come, or if I got to wait for the plumber to come to stop the leak, those are things that I'd rather not do. So if I can look under the sink and find out, it's preventative maintenance, So yes, and the sidewalk, although technically not yours, it's the cities typically or the counties, it's the municipality, you run into those. But they're trying to save themselves money, but in the end, they also were trying to save you the misery and the inconvenience of having a claim. So
it frustrates people, just like the HOA writes a letter, but people don't realize, this all is about upkeeping your home, keeping the value, like you said, risk management. And I got to tell you, I had a tip from a roofer one time. It's amazing. All these places I go, and this roofer came and did a repair, and he says, Lee, look over there and look at that house. He says, and I look over there and there's a palm tree, right? And the branches are touching the shingles. They're just laying right over the roof. He says, you see, when a wind comes, when we have a little storm, that branch is just wiping the granules right off of those shingles. He says the number one enemy for a roof is these trees.
Right.
And they come up and people just let them grow, let them get right on top of the roofs, whether it's an oak tree or a palm tree. So then his number one advice was, have your people trim the trees down, and it will save that shingle. It will go another 10 years.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and then that goes with everything else.
Yeah, all of it.
Like get your AC serviced. I have service plan. They come out on all these houses. They automatically come out twice a year, 3 times a year, just to check them, change the filters. They call me. They're like, your tenant hasn't changed the filter.
Right.
So that saves the life of your air conditioner.
It does. Yeah. It's like oil. I always wondered when I was a kid, I'd see all these oil commercials like Fram filter, you can pay me now or pay me later. Remember those from the 70s?
Yeah.
So one time I tore an engine apart. I had a Jeep and it needed the engine that was in it I tried to salvage it. It wasn't any good. So took it out, put the other one in there. When I broke that engine down, it was like all sludge, like all nasty looking. Well, then I accidentally on this one, it ran about the new engine it wasn't a new engine. It was out of another Jeep I put in there, and it was it lasted about 50,000 miles. And one time the head gasket blew, and I didn't know it because I had the stereo cranked up so much. From Palm Coast to here,
nice.
I warped the head. So anyway, I had to take that one out, and I took that one completely apart. When I took that engine apart, it looked like honey in there. It was so sweet looking.
Synthetic.
It was just that I cared for it, and then the guy that I got the Jeep from that had the engine in it, he cared for it, changed the oil regularly. So you can preventative maintenance, like you're talking about the AC, just the tree stuff. It costs you money. But
your plumbing pipes. The people just use the stuff. A lot of people they just think it goes forever. Your all the washing machines, the hoses have all been updated now. If you have changed that under your sinks, those are all number one flood, ice maker lines.
Yes.
If you just go through like, hey, it's been 10 years I've been using the same sink, change just the pipes.
Right.
You don't even have to change the faucet. So it's all really maintenance that, I tell a lot of people, like my own son, I tell him, hey, every month, once a month, go through, look at all your ceilings, go walk outside, check all the outside. It takes 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Just go around and examine under all your sinks, see if there's a leak. And you can catch this stuff for real.
Yeah. You mentioned washing machine hoses, The biggest homeowner claim I ever had was probably about 12 years ago, $800,000. It was a washing machine hose that burst over New Year's Day weekend, and they were out of town. They came back, completely ruined the kitchen. So much moisture in the house. It damaged cabinets that were up on the wall that the water never touched, but the moisture in the air that got, sucked up in the air did. So $800,000, a simple washing machine hose. So I always recommend those steel braided hoses,
Yes.
And so just a preventative maintenance thing. Every so often, you got to change them,
Yeah, again, I've been in the industry a long time. I've seen a lot of it. I've heard what happens, and I've had it firsthand in the same kind of house I'm in. We went one afternoon. We went out. We came home and what's this water sitting in the middle of the family room? Just a little water, and it was the ice maker line that had come from the fridge underground, come up under the cabinets to hook to the faucets in the kitchen sink. And that had leaked and come behind the wall in the middle of the family room. So I am glad I was home. Mm-hmm. Again, another advice from my plumber, he says, Lee, every time you leave town, even for a day, go out, don't touch the valves in the garage. He says, those are all cheap valves, under your sinks. He says, don't mess with those valves. They're $2 valves. They can pop.
Yep.
A lot of people keep turning them off, turning them on.
Yep.
Is the worst. Even my inspectors, a lot of them won't touch those. They we just will not touch that. So what he recommends is go to your street, get one of these water tank, turn it off from the street, not from your garage. Turn it off when you go away and come back. And of course, you go in the garage and turn off the water heater,
right.
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you go away, that's the number one lesson. Go ahead.
Mentioned one thing about in your business. One of the frustrating things is when you're trying to sell an existing house. If you're the listing agent, or even if you're the other agent, the other side, the buyer's agent, you run into a situation where they say, "Oh, you got to replace the roof. It's 18 years old," and you've got an inspection that says the roof is in good condition. Okay, well now they specifically have to say 5 years is what you're going to see. It's either going to be it's 5 years or it's less than 5 years. Okay. But where you can help your clients to make the deal is, you mentioned Citizens. Citizens is supposed to be the market of last resort. Unfortunately, the pricing, the way it's in the state of Florida, they don't take rate increases based on real life. They take rate increases on real life, and then they adjust it based on the politics of the situation. But what they do is take roofs older than 15 years. They'll take them up to 25 years. So although we don't recommend Citizens, sometimes, that's what it's there for. So we use them in those cases where that in and of itself may be enough to make that deal for you there.
Excellent. So good to know.
Yeah,
and there are companies out there, guys, that will still insure you. They just say, hey, we're, on the roof, we're just going to give you a partial if something happens.
Okay.
Right? That's I'm getting away with it now like that. And the mortgage companies are fine with it.
Well, so that is part of the new law. The roof, the 15-year-old roof thing, there are some options now for insurance companies to pay other than replacement cost, because if they can now pay in certain situations, they can you have to opt in, so it's not, the insurance company can't force you to do it, but you can say, I want to take a roof schedule where it's pre-written, like the first 5 years, you get 100% of whatever the replacement cost
Beautiful.
is. From six on, it goes in stages. So 6, maybe say, okay, now 6 is going to be, you'll get 75%. And 7, you get 73%, and so on. And until you get to 25 years, and it's 25%, and never goes below. So you would always get at least 25%, but that's an option. It does save a little money, and in some cases, it may be enough to get the insurance company to say, okay, we're willing to write that piece of business. There's another one where you can get a roof deductible of 2% of the dwelling amount, just like on hurricane. That's why these guys, these roofers / lawyers, they don't go after hurricane claims. They go after hail damage claims. Why? Because the hail damage is usually $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
So they get they focus on those because they can say, hey, for $1,000, I can get you a new roof, and they're not saying it exactly like that. And they're not legally, now they cannot say they're going to cover your deductible and that kind of stuff. But if it's 2% and you have a $300,000 house, well, then the roofer comes by and says, hey, I can get you a new roof. Well, how much is it? Well, you got to pay your $6,000 deductible. Okay, thank you. Have a good day. It's a whole different deal. That's going to change. It won't change the old claims that are already in the system. So you're talking about where's the rate relief coming? Yeah, it will start to come if people can, and they get a discount for taking that option, obviously, because the consumer is taking on more risk.
Well, we have to wrap it up. This we could talk about this for a long time.
Well, especially me.
And I mean, you have so much knowledge. Again, if anybody needs to reach out, I'm going to have Steve give you his information. He not only does homeowners, guys, he does all sorts of liability, business
commercial
insurance, commercial
life insurance, health insurance.
He has it all. So, all the cars, he packages them together and uses some top graded companies. Like we use Frontline for some of my insurance uses, and
auto owners.
So, Steve, I thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Guys, if you have any questions, you can't find Steve, call me. I will reach out to him. Go ahead, Steve, give us your information.
I'm Steve Hall, East Coast Insurors. We have an office in Ormond Beach at 801 South Young Street, across from the Holly Hill Publix. And the number there is 386-677-4787. Palm Coast is 4845 Belle Terre Parkway in the Pink Building in Palm Coast. The number there is 386-446-3426. And we have what's kept me in business for 47 years is, thank God I could type when I started, because I started by myself. And great people. We have people, and we've really focused on education of our staff, and we're forced to take continuing education courses by the state, but we like to take stuff and learn and go from there. So we go above and beyond on the education part, and it pays off.
And you've been there since 1975.
1975.
Thank you so much again. Yeah,
website
is eastcoastinsurers.com, right?
Eastcoastinsurers.com. Insurers, unfortunately, I did not know that Al Gore was going to invent the internet, or else I would have spelled insurers differently, because I spell it INSURORS. So it's eastcoastinsurers.com. But the internet, I didn't know it was coming.
And this is Mr. T, MrTsells.com, MrTsells.com. My number again, 386-299-8989. Anything you need, you can call or text. And thank you for listening to my podcast. I'll catch you guys next time soon. Thank you so much.